Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of My Life as a Typo Season 2. I am super, super excited. Today I have Sandra. Actually, I don't know if I ever asked about the pronunciation of your last name, so why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Sure. My name is Sandra Nam,
Awesome.
and yeah, and it's the ah. I go with like the long A version rather
Okay,
than, but I will respond to the Sandras or the
gotcha.
Nams. All good.
So you're like me, David as opposed to David, David,
Yeah,
Sandra. Awesome.
yeah.
I appreciate you for showing up. I met you a couple of years back through the demo day in White Plains, and really fascinated with what your business did, what your startup did. I think it's just a really fascinating niche. But I don't like to speak on behalf of other people. I always like people to tell me their story. So, kind of in a nutshell, what is Qiqo and how did you get started?
How did I get started? Well, I'll give you the somewhat quick and long story all at once.
Awesome.
My husband, who's our co-founder and CTO of Qiqo, which stands for Quality and Quality Out, back in like 2012, we were living in Washington, D.C. I was getting my graduate degree in landscape architecture and busy doing all that. He was getting involved in, nonprofits, associations, and especially in the idea of building technology to center around conversations for communities. And so that was happening. He was becoming a self-taught engineer and, wanted to figure out ways to use technology such as Zoom and audio tools like Twilio. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Twilio back in the day. But he was tinkering around, essentially building a platform to bring people together from all parts of the country or the world to have conversations. And then during that time, I was also studying for my licensure in landscape architecture. So I needed a study group.
Mm.
And so I was like the first power user of our platform to bring people together and study together to pass these darn tests. So that's how we got started, I would say. And then really it didn't become a full-fledged business until the pandemic in 2020 when we were getting a lot of calls from all over and people asking for our platform. So that's when I went full time and decided to go, full-fledged into this technology startup. And that's what got us into this.
That's amazing. Your demo was just awesome. I mean, it was I think the both of you on stage at one point, right? And it was
Yes.
just like
Oh,
a
yeah.
tag teaming it, and I think that
Yeah.
was really awesome. What is it like to have, your partner kind of work alongside you on this, support you on this journey?
It is fantastic. I get this question a lot from people like, how is it working with your spouse or your partner? And I recognize it's not for everybody and it's not for a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people.
Yeah,
Because, but we just have complementary skills, we have complementary minds, we have complementary hearts and souls. And I
mm,
think that we just naturally are able to like literally eat, breathe, live, work together. And it all like we can't imagine it any other way. So really, we are a team of two, yet we have the capacity of a team of 10 at times
oh,
because
that's
of what we
awesome.
can do. Yeah.
And you mentioned complementary, so just high level, maybe what type of functions, business functions, or roles do you play in Kiko and versus him?
Sorry, you cut out for a moment. Do you mind repeating that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So in terms of the complementary functions or the complementary as skills and heart, what type of functions do you fulfill within Kiko versus him?
Oh, so he's the engineer. He does all the tech and all the coding and figuring out all the complications and how do you integrate all these tools. And I'm really like the designer. I kind of
Mm,
know what I want. It's nice in that relationship. I know how to design things. I know how to use technology so that I know what inputs and outputs that I want and expect and how things should look or feel for, say, a user of our platform. And so my design skills, and I also have a marketing background, so my marketing and design skills naturally complement what he can build, and we can like
hmm.
architect it together. So that's one definite
Yeah.
example.
And I think probably adjacent to or maybe part of that marketing is in many ways, I mean, I see you out there in the world. You're out there, talking to people, and you're sort of the brand ambassador of Kiko. And so I see you putting yourself out there in a lot of really cool spaces, mostly on LinkedIn because that's my jam. tell me a little bit about like where do you go? Who do you talk to? Maybe we can even start with who are the users of Qiqo?
Yeah, great question. So our primary target audience is in the association space. So association executives who lead and manage associations, nonprofits that have members and industry partners that create a whole industry in and of themselves. So that's our target audience, and they're all over. I would say if you were to really pick two geographic locations where they're centered, it's in Washington D.C.
Mm.
and in Chicagoland. So that's where most folks are
Oh,
headquartered. But of course, associations are everywhere, or they are now remote working, so they also live everywhere and work everywhere. But in terms of like digital spaces where they are, there are different, community platforms that an association might, be on. And, this is like the crazy thing that I'll say that for most people who don't understand associations and how they operate, there's an association for everything. There's like an
yes.
association for alpaca owners, and there's an association for this or that. And so there's also associations for association
Oh,
executives,
wow.
right? So there's that community of
Yes.
folks which we like, commune with and are in front of. But in terms of other spaces, like of course, LinkedIn is like the top B2B space and channel. We are not really in the Instagram space or, Facebook even. That's much more of a different kind of social beast. But I would say, we do a lot of YouTube and, video recordings and then also other partner networks. So that's primarily where we operate in the association space. And then we'll soon be, we are also getting more involved locally in the hyper-local context. And I'll talk about that maybe a little bit later, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so
I like that word. I don't always know what it means, but I
yeah,
like the word hyperlocal, right? Because
yeah,
I mean, I grew up on a farm in Poland. There's hyperlocal as you can get. So yes, if I forget, please mention that in a little bit.
yeah, sure.
Um, Even though we're looking forward, we're looking at Qiqo and kind of where it's headed. I do want to just ask, how did you get here in terms of like your earlier career? Like, what was your career professional background?
Ooh, this is fun. Okay. Just like everybody else who I'm sure has never taken like a straight path forward, I first started off doing marketing and sales in the fragrance industry.
Mm,
So I worked for a major fragrance house. Uh, they are the creators of those, really famous, popular, high-end luxury perfumes and colognes and scents
mm.
that are branded by the L'Oreals of the world, or like the Codys, or the, like Calvin Klein or Ralph
Yep, yep.
Lauren, all those big brand names. I worked for the perfume house that would create those scents for these big accounts. And that got me into the world of marketing and sales, working on big accounts and small accounts, like niche accounts. Then I went onto the brand side and was a brand manager for Jean Paul Gaultier Parfums, the US brand manager. Really interesting to like figure out how to do new brand launches, new product launches, and market that, and work with different department stores before e-commerce was a thing. And then I got into actually a little bit of financial services, doing marketing and financial services on Wall Street. Um, and then that's when I think it was around like the 2008 era when the big crash, and I decided to go back to school and get my graduate degree in landscape architecture. I know, totally a total different
Ooh.
leap and change, but I was really figuring out what to do next, and it was this hankering to get involved in like design
Mm-hmm.
and the environment and like building things and building public spaces and there's like a synergy there and I in this short period of time I probably can't explain how or why, but I felt this like natural synergy to want to express design and create, and I think landscape architecture was that next natural step for me. And that's when I got really adept at understanding, how do you design something? How do you create space? How do you literally work with plants and materials and then construct something out
Mm-hmm.
of nothing from just up here, and using your drawing skills and figuring that out. So then, and then as I mentioned before, like I did that. I worked on some incredible projects and built some great work out there and with great teams. And then I, naturally using so much technology and also knowing how to manage projects at a large scale, I think that like lent itself to when I, segued into doing Qiqo and being a tech startup, an entrepreneur.
And what a cool name, right? Because Qiqo, people might think it's just random, but you
Yeah.
shared with me, with us at demo day and here today, quality in, quality out. What a
Yeah.
simple concept. How did
Yeah.
you come up with that? Did you have other names before you settled on Qiqo?
No, it actually came from if you're a software engineer or developer, you know the term GIGO. It stands for garbage in, garbage out.
Mm,
And I have to give credit to my husband because he was the one that was, learning to be a software engineer.
yeah.
And he naturally is like, well, if you put garbage in, you get garbage out. Well, what if you put quality in? Then you'll get quality
Mm.
out. And so that's been the design ethos. That's been our philosophy ever since. And that's where the name came from.
Yeah, it's I love it. It's just it's short, it's cute, it's warm. I mean, there's just a lot about it that I really appreciate. Um, but so I'm hearing adaptability because all of these different industries and functions, even like double whammy, super adaptable. I can only imagine, tell me if I'm wrong, that that adaptability serves you well as an entrepreneur these days.
Yes. 100%. For better or for worse, the
Mm,
adaptability, I think, is like a necessary skill. It's a survival skill, and if
mm,
you are unable to adapt or even accept change
yeah,
or things going awry, then you're just going to lose yourself from day one. So the flexibility and also like the ability to learn from everything that you're doing and along the way is key. So yeah, I would say adaptability is critical to being in this
yeah.
kind of role.
So you mentioned the ability to learn from, and we learn from often from others, from other people's mistakes, from other people's successes. Who are the people that you turn to, whether in your life, whether people or maybe people out there in the world that you know of? Who are the people who inspire you in your
Hmm.
journey?
Hmm. Well, I'm not going to overly gush, but yes, my husband is still that number
Mm,
one inspiration. But this is when it becomes, because who do you lean on? It's your partner in life, and also because he's my partner in work. I was going to say partner in
hmm.
crime, which is
In
that
crime,
too.
yeah,
But my partner in work is that you have to lean on each other to stay sane, to stay also in check, to also ask the questions, the hard questions.
mm,
I've been involved in some other, startup kind of startups, I would say, a very small startup with another person or friend. And it's really hard. You
yeah,
can't get that deep that easily with someone you've never met before or a friend even
yeah.
or especially like another family member that you're not necessarily like a married partner to. So I would say like that's my first and foremost inspiration. Um,
That's awesome.
and honestly, you ask a question that can hit a sore spot sometimes because I wish there were more mentors or
Mm,
inspiring
mm,
folks out there for me to lean on other than like your typical maybe celebrity startup
yeah,
founders. Like I still look to Sarah Blakely, who's the founder of Spanx, as like the
yeah,
OG of, startups and creating something out of nothing, with hardship and big challenges along the way. So, and Oprah Winfrey, like I grew up watching
yeah.
Oprah Winfrey every day after school,
Sure.
and she's so inspiring and still is to this day. But like, yeah, I honestly wish that there were more folks that I could lean on as inspiration, whether it be kind of from afar or even
Hmm.
close by. And while I wish I could say certain people's names, I'm still actually
Yeah.
searching for those
Hey, that's
OGs.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big universe out there, and that's what I see when I see your background. It's really, really cool. Was it random or was there a thought process in sort of that intergalactic space type of background?
Yeah, I think it was a little subconscious actually. Um, so at Kiko, we've built several products to allow for more work, remote collaboration, um, interactive collaboration through online events, and so virtual engagement. That's been like our DNA for all the products that we build. So we have all these products in the Kikoverse, the Qiqo universe. And so then as we built out this new product that's marketplace tech, and I'm happy to describe that in more detail, just realize that we're creating these little worlds everywhere, and that's what our platform is doing is to like create this network of worlds, whether it be an association who's going to have their own industry marketplace, or at a hyper local level, building these community hubs. It's all about creating a whole universe and exploration of what's possible in this new era of both AI, technology,
Mm.
digital platforms, community platforms. Yeah.
So hyperlocal, just define that for me. Like what, I mean, I think I know what it means, but I don't really. So how does that apply to your line of work, the hyperlocal thing? What does that really
Yeah.
mean practically?
Yeah. I probably didn't explain this yet, did I? So,
No, no, but you said you
yeah,
would, and I'm curious. So
yeah,
I'd
yeah.
love to learn from you.
So Qiqo is about to launch its hyperlocal marketplace platform on Qiqo.org. And essentially, when we say hyperlocal, it's like at your community level, even at the school community level. So,
Mm,
for instance, I have two young kids. They are in elementary school, and you really create an identity around your community, your school's community, versus the next door school's community. And you live in Westchester too, so you know
yep,
like White Plains has its own school community, and
sure.
then you've got like
Yep.
Irvington and all these other places. And I think in New York, Westchester County alone, there's like at least 40 public school districts. So
Mm,
while you identify with your own, you certainly don't even identify with the next community over as much.
yeah.
Right? There's a relevance, but you really want to understand at the hyper local level, which is really centered around your school's community, especially for parents and other residents within that range, that geographic range. Um, so that's what we mean by hyperlocal. And what we're doing with Qiqo is to create these hubs around these school communities where residents can discover what's going on through local news, what's happening at the local government level, what's happening with local nonprofits, what's happening with events in the area, and especially local businesses that want to get discovered by these residents.
Mm,
There's so many amazing local businesses that we want to elevate, where we're losing a lot of this awareness of what businesses can provide their services and products because Amazon's taken over.
yeah.
Local news is like being decimated right now. We live in a local news desert even, and there's so many more
Yeah.
that are popping up. And so what we want to do is revitalize the sense of an information hub where you can know what's going on, you can feel like you're giving back to the community and to the local economy, and you can also kind of just survive with the local economy. I think, as if you, for many folks, that are also parents, you're constantly searching for products and services or businesses that can support your needs, or even other businesses that need other businesses, right? To figure out
And
how
that are
to
trustworthy.
and that are
Trustworthy, yeah.
trustworthy. Yeah. And so what we're doing is creating these hubs. It's kind of like we're calling them these community hubs because it's not like a social media platform where all you're doing is like posting amazing things about yourself, but it's about also just rather like the model is flipped where all this information is coming to you, and then you can make recommendations to your neighbors about, oh, this, what, this business is really awesome. They helped me with my roof the other day. Or, we've got a great consultant who can help me with my financial service planning and investments. Or I need like a tutor for,
Mm,
our high school student, or I need to know where a good summer camp is, next year for our kids. So all these things that we're constantly in search of, that's what we're trying to make more easily available for
mm,
communities. And our thesis is that if you feel like you're a part of a smaller community rather than like this public network that say Facebook provides, or even LinkedIn, or Instagram, then you feel like it's more trustworthy. It's not about this, discourse going awry. There's
yeah.
a
It's
lot
less
of
vitriol.
yeah, there's a lot of negativity out there on certain
Hmm.
platforms. And, I don't even need to like name them. I'm sure
Yeah, of
some come
course,
to
of
mind,
course.
right? And so our,
Yeah.
our focus is making sure that it's positive, it's useful, it creates value for everybody and everyone in the community.
The other and thank you for there's I felt that sense of purpose and mission and sort of multifaceted positive ripple effects in the community from what you shared during demo day, from the couple of conversations that you and I and Lucas had since then and now. So I'm like, I'm loving that there's that consistency. Um, the other thing that I had is like maybe not such a big deal, but Qiqo makes me think of Kiki, which in some communities, queer communities, I believe, has this connotation of like, let's have a chat, let's have a catch up. So for me, it has all these positive and sweet connotations.
Oh, great. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we could maybe look into that because I should possibly verify that. But just like any words, it has probably different connotations and different contexts. But it makes me think of like, hey, let's have a Kiki within the Qiqo universe,
Yeah.
Qiqoverse. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. Well, this season, the series is called My Life is a Typo because my name is David, and sometimes people call me Dave or Daniel. And I started this episode by calling you Sandra when I should have known it's Sandra. So I appreciate you correcting me. But the theme of season two is what do people get wrong about you?
Mm.
And you can answer that question on the professional level, on the personal level, however you want. But what do other people get wrong about you or have gotten wrong about you in the past?
Ooh. People have probably gotten a lot of things wrong about me, but I don't know
Like my
exactly
name,
what.
like I got your name
Right.
wrong, right?
Right.
So,
I mean, I think that I'll lead with this. Like I've been described as inscrutable,
ooh.
which is accurate actually, right? So that is so right, but I think that's what leads to why people get so much wrong about me.
Mm,
But I think one thing that maybe it's not that people get wrong, it's that they don't get how because I think that generally speaking, I go around and I'm pretty exuberant and
mm.
nice and I'm like someone said
Exuberant,
to me,
even
yeah,
down to the way you dress, the vibrancy and the design, it's amazing.
thank you. Like I go out there with like just a smile and
Yep.
saying hello to people. I try to do my best to give out free smiles because there's
Yes.
nothing wrong with with that and it's free, right?
Yes.
It's free to be
It's much
nice.
needed. Much
Yeah.
needed.
But I think that often then with my inscrutability, sometimes there's this misnomer of or misunderstanding of how intense I am inside. And there's like a level of I go deep and wide and broad and big
All of it.
too. So
Okay.
because I'm constantly, assessing the landscape, assessing people, intuiting people and their energy so that I can work with them. And so I think that there's a lot of that happening that therefore people might judge me as either like, I don't know, or like they just too simple or they don't get me. And so, oh, they might like, fluff me off or something like that.
Mm-mm-mm.
But I think that because I have a really complex yet I'm constantly analyzing, right? That's what it is. I'm constantly analyzing. And so it comes across maybe sometimes as like, I don't say anything, but it's because I'm thinking before I
Yeah.
react, before I do.
Sure.
And I'm always like just going, what's the right approach for things? And so
Mm-hmm.
I tend to be much more observant. Maybe that's what it is. I'm so observant that therefore like that's where the
Oh yeah. I
inscrutability
mean,
comes from.
when I like this quote that comes up often, like every few months in my life, and I've heard it for many years, which is the people who are quietest are not the weakest. Like the people who are doing all the talking are not necessarily the most powerful in the room. And I think for me, the discernment, knowing when to shut up and listen, and knowing when to speak, I think that's a really powerful tool. So who knows what people think when you're quiet? Like they might think you're
Right.
checked out. They might think
Right.
you're disengaged. Meanwhile, you're actually like super into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Totally in tune. Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. You ask five people and they'll have five different opinions, right?
Right. Right. And you're like,
Or
oh,
some
really?
people, yeah. I mean, it's just which is wild, which is why I love communication because you think you've got it figured out or you think you've got a person figured out, and then you ask, and then they'll give you some like detail, and you're like, oh my goodness, I thought it was the exact opposite of that. And you learn the folly of making assumptions, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, um, another question that I asked during these episodes is the question of mistakes or lessons learned or failures. Call it what you will. I think it's the same thing, just with a different name. So if you look back, whether during your few years with Qiqo or any time in your career before then, what's a difficult lesson, a mistake that you take with you that you've learned?
I think I again, like I'm not sure if if I can say the word mistake, is it? But I think I've just grew up mistakenly allowing other people's opinions or judgments of me shape the way that I think and do, or feel like I need to do the right thing. This is how to do the right thing, or this is what's not right. I think that
Right.
that has really trained me so hard that I'm still untraining myself to realize, of course, no, that's not right. And also maybe I mistook the
Mm,
human capacity to create.
mm,
I think that's something that I never believed in or understood to be available to me as a person, as a human on this earth, like that you can create something out of nothing. And that's what being a tech entrepreneur startup is all about. And it's exhilarating. But all these years leading up to where I am today, I never thought that is possible, or why or how. I mean, it's just all it was, you just imagine that people start these companies and they, become the next Microsoft or the next
right.
whatever, and that's how it goes. But so I think I that was the biggest mistake growing up, was not knowing what's possible, and that you can literally be as innovative as you want. Of course, it's not easy, but
No.
yeah. So,
And you mentioned mentors, and I think maybe you haven't named them, maybe you don't have like an official mentor, but what would you say if I came up with the idea, or this idea that like you're surrounding yourself with people that just inspire you in small ways on a daily basis, like because you're always around like people. Again, I only see what you choose to share, and I only see what you put on LinkedIn, but the vibe that I'm getting is that you're surrounding yourself. Maybe there's an exchange. Maybe it's not unidirectional. Maybe it's not like you're just siphoning energy and mentorship from others. Maybe it's more like peer-to-peer mentorship. If you know what I mean,
oh,
it's just that's
Oh,
what I
yes.
think.
I would 1,000% agree to that. Like that, I do surround myself as much as possible with awesome people,
Yeah,
people who are doing complementary things, who know more than I do,
yeah,
but also not trying to be extractive, just building relationships
right.
and networking
Yeah.
with as many people as possible. Because that goes to like the whole people mistaking you or me or for anybody for who they really are. I think that happens way too much. And so my I guess ethos or philosophy of networking is that don't underestimate other people.
Hmm.
And you never know what they're going to offer in exchange if you just kind of like getting to know them. And I think that's been yeah. So I do
Yeah.
surround myself as much with awesome people because you never know.
I also find that, excuse me, I also find that if I talk about food or music or something that people are just naturally passionate about, the other stuff flows eventually. Like I don't have to be like, so tell me everything you're doing with Qiqo. I could just say hi, like, oh, we're eating these little appetizers, like these are delicious, and then you tell me, ooh, the best ones of this I get at my local restaurant. And to me, that exchange happens organically around food, like literally breaking bread with people. To me, that's networking. Like, yes, I've
Yes.
gone to networking fairs and conferences and all that. Networking happens there in those more formal professional places. That's not my daily more favorite type of networking. My favorite type of networking is just meeting people out in the world and talking about things where we either mutually agree or politely disagree, because I have no tolerance for impoliteness anymore. Um, and yeah, anyway, that was my PSA, I guess, my public service announcement. I like to network in organic, kind ways and have fun doing it. So yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Any
Yeah.
thoughts there?
Yeah, no, I love that. I think food is it's such a common denominator.
Hmm.
And I think that it's the most wonderful way. I love how you said breaking bread. I feel like that is the way to break the ice with people too. Even if it's around a glass of water, or
Yeah.
even if it's around, a snack, or an
Yes.
ice cream or a
Yeah.
cookie, whatever it is, it's something that allows you to say, this is something that we can find joy in.
Yeah.
Hey, let me get to know more about you, and what do you find joy in? What are the things that give you joy, and experience life in ways that provide a light. And I think getting to know that about people is also, it leads to the next, to the next, to the next awesome thing about
Sure.
that
Sure.
person. Um, so yeah, I love that yeah, food is like a great universal way to meet people and also to get to know one's culture. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah,
I'm an equal opportunity consumer of food. Like there's not a world cuisine that I will not enjoy. Like obviously I have standards and like I'd rather have better Polish food than worse Polish food. I'd rather have, tastier Mexican food
oh
than
yeah,
but I'll eat it all. Like that's just the way it is. So for me it's just so accessible, especially when I coach introverts. They're like, well, I don't know how to talk about my skill set or my business or whatever it is. And I'm just like, who says you have to? Like, talk about the video game that you're playing and you're killing, or kicking butt in, or talk to me about your baking skills or where you've traveled or whatever, podcast that you've started or volunteering that you do with your kids' school. I don't care. Talking to me about that. And then all the other stuff will flow. So I think for a lot of introverts, they struggle. They think it has to go right to business. And says who? Says who?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
anyway,
That's the introvert conversation. Like I'm a total introvert, and
yeah.
I've definitely been working on being less so, and it's a challenge always. But the
Yeah.
introvert thing, there's so many introverts out there, and I think it's just it goes back to something that I think I referred to earlier, but just not like untraining yourself to realize that other people's judgments of you does not make you, or should not make you, and or should not shape
Yeah.
how you think about yourself and
Mm,
what you're capable of.
yes.
Um, and or allowing other, I'm gonna just use this context, like allowing other, say, bosses or people that you work with
Yep.
to prevent you from being your best self or prevent you from like showcasing your work as who you
Mm,
are. And I think that we're often suppressed to believe that, this is what I can do. This is what I'm capable of. This is what I'm proud of.
yes.
And I think
Yeah.
that's
I'm
what, yeah,
2 thumbs up.
yeah.
But for me, as adults, right? As kids, it's different. But as adults, isn't it our responsibility to be able to say, "Oh, that boss is toxic," or that boss is fine, or that boss is mediocre, but is not helping me get to where I need to be. So I'm gonna either leave, or I'm gonna find ways to manage up, or I'm gonna find other outlets to develop, as opposed to just saying, "Oh, well, my boss is a jerk, and so I'm just gonna stagnate." Do you know what I'm
Right,
saying? I think
right.
I think it behooves us as adults. We don't have to. Not everybody wants to or needs to climb or get promoted. I get that. I respect that. Um, but if you do want to grow or learn on your skill or get promoted, you got to, do something. It's not just going to magically appear in your lap. So I think there's a sense of responsibility that some people don't necessarily. I mean, yeah, I just say that some people have an easier time of it to say, yes, it's my responsibility. I have a lot more agency. And yes, words and sticks and stones, words can hurt me because I'm human, but I'm not gonna drown in that. I'm not gonna like sit with that forever. I'm just gonna be like, all right, it stings. Tomorrow's a new day.
Hmm.
That's how I see it.
Yeah,
It's like, yes, it still stings. I'm not gonna deny that it stings, but I'm not gonna talk about the sting for 17 years, because how does that serve me?
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so talk to me about the future of Qiqo. What's coming up in the next few months or years? I mean, you kind of touched on some of the new products. Like, what are you most excited about for your business?
I'm very excited about where we are right now. We're building our team. So I mentioned that we have marketplace tech. One is for the associations. Any association who wants to stand up their own branded, customized marketplace is essentially a live trade show online and
Mm.
year round. We're starting to stand up some marketplaces there. We've got our first industry client, and also we've launched the association marketplace, so that's humming along. And then this year, we're also going to launch in the hyperlocal context, starting in Westchester County, and hopefully
Woo-hoo.
we'll keep growing. But we'll stand up these local Qiqo hubs, so around the school districts like Qiqo White Plains or Qiqo Edgemont or Qiqo Irvington, Qiqo Hastings. We're going to stand up these community hubs, and we're going to get a lot of local news and local information integrated, and then launch and then see how we can help improve communities across Westchester and beyond. So that's what I'm super excited about. It's a lot of work,
That's awesome.
but
Yes, it is.
it's pretty
But there are
cool.
moments of recognition. A few months ago, I think you and I think Lucas were both on the cover of 914 Inc. magazine, a local, a regional magazine here. What was that like for you?
That was that was probably the coolest thing ever. I mean, we didn't anticipate being on the cover and or even being asked to be in a magazine, so our
Yeah,
local
yeah,
business
yeah.
magazine. So we were beyond thrilled to land on the cover because it was a huge boost to our business, a huge boost to, also just elevating our story
Yes.
and what we're doing for the community, and also in the fact that it's the community where we're launching. So yeah, it was all amazing, and we also got to meet some cool people along the way with that, and having the community and even our friends, from afar and near reach out just be like, "Hey, I just saw you guys on the cover of this magazine." And we're like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Celebrities. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hyper local celebrities. Hello, hello. I love that. No, it was really cool. Like, because I met you a couple of times at that point in real life, not just through Zooms. And so I was just like extra, like I was like, ooh, I know these folks. Like I'm special because I know them, right? It just put a smile on my face and read through the article. So very, very cool. Very, very cool to know you. Please send my best to Lucas. Thank you again for deciding to do this. And you know me. I'm a persistent guy, so I'll stay in touch, and I look forward to keeping tabs on and celebrating the future of Qiqo. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you so much, David, for having me, and
Of
it's been
course,
wonderful. Thank you.
absolutely. Take care. Bye.